TJ approached me about a month and a half ago and said, hey, you're on for the 30th. We want you to talk. And I was really surprised and really excited at the same time. He just walked in and said, you're on for the 30th. And I was like, man, you must be desperate. You must be absolutely desperate to bypass all these other people for me to talk. But I'm so glad that I'm here to talk with you guys. And you would think a month and a half would be plenty of time for somebody to prepare a message. Like I think everyone sitting in here would say, yeah, that's ample time. But then the month of December happened. And it was one of the most stressful months that I have had this entire year. And I know you're all thinking, well, duh, it's December, the holidays, it's always stressful for everyone. I mean, it was more stressful than normal for me. So let me give you a little context. We had our Christmas Eve service last Monday. And Christmas Eve for us is a very big deal. We take it very seriously. It's one of our biggest services of the year because we know that it's one of the opportunities that we have to reach the biggest group of people who don't know God as possible, right? It's a huge opportunity to introduce them to a relationship with Jesus. So we take it very seriously. We try as hard as we possibly can to make that service awesome. So I started helping Kelly plan that service in about the middle of November. And there's a lot that goes into that. There's so much planning. There's planning meetings that have to happen. We have to have the stage design put together. We have to have all of this stuff fall into place. We have to get all the volunteers together. We have to assign the volunteers to positions. We have to give them the resources so that they can do what they need to do. And it's just a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that on top of my normal everyday, job duty. So we had to close out the student service for the semester. And I had my own, family stuff going on, normal holiday stuff. So it was just a super stressful time. And on top of that, I ended up getting hand, foot, and mouth disease in the middle of all this. And if you don't know what hand, foot, and mouth disease is, it usually affects little kids, but it's like a rash that you get on your palms and the hands and the bottom of your feet and in your mouth, and it's like a blister, but it itches and it hurts and it's terrible. And I ended up getting it from head to toe. I was completely covered in it. I went to my doctor and he told me it was the worst case of hand, foot, mouth he's ever seen in a kid or an adult or anything. I was convinced I had the chicken pox. I called my mom because I was starting to second guess whether or not I actually had chicken pox. I vaguely remember sitting in the bed with the oven mitts on, your mom putting the cream on. And I was like, but maybe I made all that up. Maybe that didn't actually happen. So I called her. I said, Mom, have I ever had did I have the chicken pox? I remember. She said, yeah, you had the chicken pox. So it was hand, foot, and mouth disease. So I had to deal with that. So I lost a week of work during all this time. And so when I sat down and started preparing this message, I was like, what am I going to talk about? I want to talk about something relevant as we move into 2019. This is the last Sunday before we move into a new year, and I want to talk about something relevant. What should I talk about? And it's like a light bulb just went off in my head as I started thinking back on the past month of my life. And what I'm going to talk about this morning is stress. Simply stress. I have said the words, I am so stressed out more times this month than I have in my entire life. I'm not a stressed out person. I don't like experiencing stress. It's uncomfortable for me. I don't like living my life that way. So if I'm stressed out, it means I've really gotten myself into something. But I got to thinking about it. That's usually not the norm for people. I had my month of stress, and I'm sure there'll be many more months of stress that come on, but there are people that live their lives year after year after year in this solid state of stress. They're stressed out about work. They're stressed out about finances. They're stressed about family. It seems like we have something to be stressed about every single day of our lives. But if you think about it, that's really the way that our world has sort of set us up to live, right? They've told us that we're supposed to be these busybodies. You want that promotion at work, so you work the extra hours, you do the extra projects, you make sure all the right people see you moving and shaking and doing all the things at work. Or you fill up all of your family's time with just stuff. All of your kids have to have all these extracurricular activities, or any moment of downtime you have has to be filled with an outing, or you plan these elaborate vacations. And yes, vacations, the things that were designed to relieve stress, that were supposed to get us away from stress, we have found a way to make those stressful. We have made vacation planning into a stressful endeavor. And if you've ever planned a vacation with extended family, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So we do all of that with our families, all for the sake of what? Just to post something on social media to say, look at how busy we are, look at how full our life is. Or we overcommit in our personal lives. We say yes to everybody that wants something from us. Hey, let's go to lunch. Okay. Hey, let's go on this dinner date. Okay. Hey, can you come join this club with me? Okay. And we just appease and appease and appease everybody that just wants anything from us just because we don't want to stir the boat with anybody. Right? So we just overload ourselves. We just say yes and yes and yes, and we take on all these things until we're just a big ball of wound up stress. And that's just to name a few things. And all of those things are things that we do to ourselves. That's stress that we willingly take. That's not even talking about the things that life throws at us that we're not prepared for. So, I know some of you are sitting there right now and you're thinking, Chandler, I thrive in stress. I have that kind of personality. I like to feel busy. I like to know that I have stuff going on, and yeah, it stresses me out, but I'm super productive and I feel like I'm getting things done. That's just the type of person I am. Well, let's think about that for a second. And let's be gut level honest with ourselves about that. Do you really thrive in a life of stress, or are you just addicted to it? Are you just addicted to feeling like you always have somewhere to go and something to do? And you get addicted to this feeling of accomplishment and I've got stuff going on. You feel like you have this full life. Are you just addicted to the stress? Because those of you that think that, let's look at what the evidence shows. There are no medical or relational benefits to prolonged continuous stress. None. Prolonged continuous stress increases your chances for heart disease, diabetes, depression, and a laundry list of other things. And people don't want to be around someone who is stressed out all the time. Not even other stressed people, because you're adding to their stress. So nobody wants to be around you when you are stressed out all the time. So what do? If our world is set up to push us towards a life of stress, and some of us already have a natural tendency to pursue a life of stress, then what do we do? What do we do? Ultimately, we have to make the decision that we don't want to be stressed out anymore. And I know that sounds really childish and simple, but it's the truth. I'm reminded back to college for me when I was writing this portion of my sermon. There were so many times where I started a semester of college and I would tell myself, this is going to be different. I'm going to be on top of work. I'm not going to overcommit on things. I'm going to learn to tell people no, and I am not going to be stressed out this semester of college. And then the next semester came and I was stressed out all through that semester of college. And I kept doing that and doing that and doing that over and over and over again. I never changed any of my behavior. So how many times in our life do we tell ourselves, I'm never doing this again. I don't want this life of stress. I don't want to deal with all this stress in my life. So I'm never doing that again. And then we don't change any of our behavior. We don't actually mean it when we say it. We don't actually want to change anything. So the first step is to come to the conclusion that I am done. I don't want to be stressed out anymore. I don't want my life to be defined like that. And once we've done that, once you've come to that ultimate decision, you're ready to actually make some changes, I have a few things that I think will really help us alleviate day-to-day stress in our lives. The first one is to prioritize your life. Prioritize your life. It is so easy for us to just overload ourselves with a lot of stuff, right? This group, that club, this thing, that thing, this obligation, that obligation. We just snatch up stuff all the time. We have all these things going on in our life. And if you sat down and you made a list of it, it would be 100 miles long of all the stuff that you have going on in your life that you have to deal with. And we feel that way because we just like to feel busy, right? It makes us feel like we're getting something done. So instead of focusing on the quality of the things that we have going on in our life, we focus on the quantity of the things that are going on in our life, right? It doesn't matter that this thing that you're a part of doesn't get hardly any of your attention, just as long as you're a part of it. As long as you can say that you're a part of it, and it's an obligation that you can check off on your weekly, I got this done list. So that book club that you're a part of, it doesn't matter if you actually read the book and actually put any effort into it, just as long as you're there and it's something you can check off your list. I'm a part of this, I do this. Or that work project that you have that you've taken on willingly, and you can't give 100% to it, but you're just going to give enough so that people know that you have your hand into it. And really, you're not helping out all that much, but your name gets to be on the final product. I helped, check. We need to start focusing more on the quality of the stuff that we're involved in and not the quantity of stuff. And the Bible warns us to be careful about spending time this way. And in Ephesians 5, verses 15 through 16, it says this: "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil." Because the days are evil, meaning that we don't have an infinite amount of time to just fill our life with just a bunch of stuff. We don't have time to waste on putting very little effort into all of these different things that we're involved in. So instead of doing that, I want you guys to think about, as we move into 2019, this new year, what if we sat down and we made a list of everything that we had obligations towards in our lives? Our family, church, work, this club that you're a part of, this thing that you do every weekend, this group that you get together with and play games with every week. All the stuff that you have going on in your life, just make a list. First, you'll be surprised to see just exactly how much stuff you have going on in your life. If you list out everything, you will be very surprised at how much you can fit into what seems like not a bunch of time in your week. And then what I want you to do is to look through that list and start deciding what on this list actually matters to me. What is actually important to me, and start to prioritize that list. Where does family sit on that list? Where does church sit on that list? Where does God sit on that list? Where does all the other things going on in your life sit on that list? And when you sit down and you make that list and you see just exactly where everything falls, then you can start deciding, okay, this falls at the bottom of the list. It's not worth my time. It's literally taking away time that I could put into other things and improve the quality of the things that I actually care about. So that's one. Number two is to learn to say no. Learn to say no. A lot of us struggle with this, me especially, okay? I like to feel helpful, and I know there's a lot of you out there that like to feel helpful. You like to feel dependable. And so anybody that needs anything from you, you just say yes. And you do the best you can to get everything done that everybody needs from you. But let me tell you, saying yes to everything does not make you a dependable person. It has nothing to do with your dependability. In fact, saying yes to everything actually makes you a less dependable person. You are less effective when you are so overwhelmed with all this stuff that you've agreed to do that you can't give stuff the time that it needs. So you need to learn to say no. You need to learn that my dependability is not dependent, see what I did there, on the amount of stuff that I'm doing, but rather how much effort and how well I come through on the things that I do agree to do. So we need to learn to say no. And we can actually see in the Bible many instances where Jesus put this principle into place. And in one instance we're going to look at is in Mark chapter 1. We find Jesus actually, give you a little context on this. We find Jesus standing in front of a large crowd. A large group of people have come together, and he is healing people, and he's casting out demons, and he's doing all this stuff to help people. And it's such a large group of people, and he's doing this that it actually gets into the night, and he gets tired. So he goes to bed for the night. And then we pick up right here in Mark chapter 1, verses 35 through 38. It says, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went to a solitary place where he prayed. Simon and his companions went to look for him, and when they found him, they exclaimed, "Everyone is looking for you." Jesus replied, "Let us go somewhere else, to the nearby villages, so I can preach there also. That is why I have come." So Jesus, in this instance, said no to that proposition. Simon and his companions came and followed him. They said, "Hey, all those people from last night, there are those that are waiting for you. They're still looking for you. There are people that you didn't get to that still need to be healed. There's all these other things that people need help with, and they're looking for you, Jesus." And he says, "We need to leave. I can't help these people. I have other obligations. I have other places to go and preach because that is why I have come, ultimately." See, Jesus understood that he had an ultimate purpose that he needed to fulfill, and that deserved his best, and not what he had left over from doing all these other things. And so he was very decisive about what gets his attention, how long it gets his attention, and when he needs to break it off and go towards his ultimate purpose. And I think we should try to model that same behavior. I know we would love to help everybody around us that needs help, but it's just not physically possible for you. And you have an ultimate purpose that you are supposed to fulfill. And so you should be deciding what gets my best and what gets my leftovers. So we need to learn to say no. Number 3, and this is my last point for you guys today, we need to take moments to just exist. And that's it. We just need to take moments to exist. And I know that sounds a little funny, but I'm serious. We need to have moments where there is nothing going on. We don't have any obligations. We have nothing to think about. If there is something to think about it's not being thought about in this moment. I'm taking a break. And I don't know what that looks like for you, if that's an hour, 2 hours a day, or if that's a whole day a week, but it needs to be planned and it needs to be very intentional. So what I mean is on your planner, your daily planner, when you write down what meetings you have and where it is and who you got to go see, at 3:00, that's my nothing time. Nothing for an hour. From 3 to 4, I have nothing going on, and you keep it as if it were a meeting or a lunch date or anything else that gets your attention. You are intentional about that time to just unwind and let go. And if that looks like a whole day for you, if that's your Saturday or your Friday or whatever day that you can give up, then you keep it. So that means if somebody comes and asks you, "Hey, you want to go do this on Saturday?" The answer is no. The answer is no. I have other plans, and my plans are to be still and quiet and to unwind from all of the stuff going on in my life. We need to have those moments to do that. And the psalmist in Psalm 131, he actually paints a beautiful picture of this, and this is what he says: "O Lord, my heart is not lifted up. My eyes are not raised too high. I do not occupy myself with things too great or too marvelous for me, but I have calmed and quieted my soul. Like a weaned child with its mother, like a weaned child is my soul within me." Quiet, still, like a baby being rocked to sleep by its mother. That's what that moment should feel like for you. And just as an aside, a little sub point to this, in our world today, with the political stresses that we have going on and social stresses and personal stresses that you have going on in your life, this verse could not be more beautifully written. We need to take a break from all the stuff that's happening around us and just be still, quiet. Stop worrying about things that we can't control. Let go of some of that and just be still and remember who we belong to. Remember who's in charge. Take that moment to de-stress, depressurize from the stuff going on in your life. So we need to take regular moments where our soul is calm. So New Year's Eve is coming up, and I know that a lot of you are going to be making New Year's resolutions. Do you know what one of the top five New Year's resolutions was for last year? It was to relieve daily stress that people were going through. Top five. People wanted to get rid of the stress that they dealt with on a daily basis. And a recent study has shown that 8 in 10 Americans deal with systemic daily stress. Every day, 8 in 10 Americans wake up and they are stressed from the moment they're awake to the moment they go to sleep over all kinds of things: work, finances, family. We are a nation of stressed out people, which means that more than likely we are a church of stressed out people. And so maybe this could be your New Year's resolution this year. Maybe you could decide that you're going to be done living a stressful life, that you're going to prioritize your life, that you're going to learn to say no, that you're going to take moments to be still and be calm, and be very intentional about it. And 2019 is going to be a way less stressful year for all of us because this is the truth. When you live a life that is just stuck in stress, you are not your best self, and we are not effective Christians when our life is just stuck in stress.